Hi, Professor Danduran here, and I am creating this video to show you how to use Microsoft Word to peer review your partner's papers. So you go ahead and you get your partner's paper and you open it up in Microsoft Word. The first thing you want to do is go to the Review tab and click Track Changes. This way, anytime you type within the paper itself, it's going to show up red and underlined. You will also be using commenting in order to peer review your peers' papers. So the way you do that is you find what you want to comment on and you highlight it, and then you click New Comment. As you can see, that highlights it in red and it pops up a text box on the right that you can then type in. In this case, what I want to tell my peer is that I like the way she opened her paper. So I type, I like your use of an image and a question to open your paper. It's a real attention grabber. And then I click anywhere else and that will take me out of that comment. Now the next thing I notice about this paper that I want to comment on is that she hasn't properly put the ENG prefix for our course up here. But instead of highlighting it and having a comment pop over here, I'm just going to correct it for her. I highlight it and I write the proper prefix, ENGL, all in caps. And then I'm going to add the section number onto the end. So these are the two ways I want you to work with your partner's paper in order to offer them advice for improvement as well as comment on what they've already done well. And you're going to do this throughout the entire paper. So for example, as I'm reading, if I notice after reading a couple pages that this particular student is continually forgetting to use a comma with introductory expressions, like in this sentence, if a person were to be asked what kind of tractor he or she is aware of, or to identify the green and gold Deere logo, there would only be a few who would not know and recognize the John Deere branding. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and insert the comma for them. That way they can see exactly where the comma should go. But I'm also going to highlight these two words and hit new comment. And now I'm going to let the student know that there needs to be a comma between logo and there. And then I'm just going to do sort of a general reminder to use commas with introductory expressions. And to check the rest of the paper. That way I don't have to mark every single time the student hasn't used the comma with the introductory expression. Instead, I've shown them one example and now it's on them to make the corrections throughout the rest of the paper. So that's one way you can offer advice for improvement. Grammar. I also, as I did with this first example, really recommend that you let students know what they've done well. So let them know what they've done well, work with grammar. Also, you need to make sure that you are carefully reviewing their use of MLA in the paper. We want to make sure that everyone is citing their sources properly. So if I see a citation error, as in this sentence, I might highlight it and click New Comment, and then let the student know that they don't need to use the author's names in the parenthetical if you use them in the signal phrase. For example, here she has Petit and Rousier, Petit and Rousier. You don't need those both times. You only need the page number. And since this was sort of a double error, I'm just going to put a semicolon and I'm going to write also. Remember, you don't put commas in MLA parentheticals. Okay, so grammar, telling people what they did well, and then talking about MLA. But you're also going to want to offer advice on the content that they've included. Are they making their point? Are they supporting all of the claims they make with the proper evidence, both logic and research and even anecdotal? Are they writing their paper well? Is the structure appropriate? Also, perhaps you read this paragraph and you're like, oh, wow, that's really long and it talks about a whole bunch of different things. You might highlight the last word of the paragraph, click new comment, and suggest that the person break it up into smaller, more focused paragraphs. So you might say, this paragraph covers too much information. Consider separating it out into multiple paragraphs that focus on only one central idea. So, the content, the structure, the grammar, the MLA, I want you commenting on everything, but again, don't feel like you have to do it at every single point that the student has done something wrong in their paper. If you point it out once, it is then up to your peer to go through their paper themselves and ensure that they have not made that mistake multiple times. I highly recommend using both commenting, which pops up over here at the right, and writing directly in the paper. That way, they have two different methods you have two different methods of reviewing, and they can see your comments in two different ways as well. Finally, when you are entirely done making your marginal comments, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can type your overall assessment right here. Remember, that needs to be about a paragraph, and it's a generalized comment. So you're going to give them an overall idea of what they did well and an overall idea of the two areas they should focus on for revision. Thanks for listening.